Hello everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, I began to feel that I was no longer in control of my daily life. Since discovering the distorted faces in the mirror, I no longer dared to look at any mirror in the house. I covered them with a cloth, but only a few hours later, when I returned, I found them removed, as if someone deliberately wanted me to look straight at the truth. Emily seemed to know that I was scared, but she did not hide anything, even seemed to enjoy my trembling. I began to believe that she wanted me to go crazy, so that one day, my soul would also be trapped in that broken mirror. At night, the house was silent, but strange sounds echoed. The footsteps never stopped, sometimes far, sometimes near, sometimes right behind the bedroom door. I opened the door with a start. There was no one, but the feeling of being watched never disappeared. I turned on the television, trying to fill the void with sound, but the screen was blurry, showing the silhouette of a woman sitting motionless. My heart pounded, and I turned it off. But for a split second, I was sure I saw Emily. Even though she was sleeping right next to me, I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, I pretended to go out to work. I went to see a shaman, an old friend had mentioned. He lived in a small wooden house on the edge of the forest, in a cold space where only the wind and the sound of dry leaves could be heard. I told him the whole story, from the first time I met Emily to the terrifying signs of her not having a shadow. The old man listened, his face growing more and more wrinkled. Finally, he told me that I was married to an entity that did not belong to this world, someone who had come out of an ancient curse. He told me to never let myself be touched by her when I stood in front of a mirror, because that was when my soul would be pulled away forever. I shivered, a feeling of despair gradually tightening my throat. I asked him how to escape this situation. The old man looked out the window, his eyes distant, and then said only that the only way was to find the source of the curse, the village that had disappeared long ago. There might be answers, or it might be the end. I left the wooden house with a heavy heart. As I walked out into the forest, I heard the sound of branches breaking, footsteps following me. I turned around, saw no one, but felt like I was being hunted. I hurriedly got into the car, leaving behind the eerie, howling wind like a devil's song. That night, I came home late. Emily was waiting in the living room, the yellow light reflecting on her pale face. She asked me where I had gone, her voice low and cold. I stammered that I was just going to work. She smiled, then walked closer to me, her eyes staring straight at me, making me suffocate. As she passed by the large mirror hanging in the hallway, I couldn't help but glance. In the mirror, I saw dozens of bony arms reaching out from the darkness, trying to grab Emily, but they passed through as if they didn't exist. My heart ached. I stepped back, and when I looked down at the floor, of course, under her feet was still empty. I began to plan to leave the house. I packed up some necessary things, but was always in a state of fear that Emily would find out. I hid some things in the trunk of the car, planning to wait for the right opportunity to leave. However, things weren't that simple. The haunted house seemed to have become a giant cage. Every time I tried to leave, something strange happened. Sometimes the main door wouldn't open. The lock seemed to be held tightly by someone. Sometimes the car wouldn't start, even though it had been working normally before. There were nights when I heard a whisper in my ear while I was sleeping. a voice repeating the two words "Home Alone" over and over again. Like a curse that I would be stuck with that entity in this house forever. One time, I mustered up the courage to run away in the middle of the night. I opened the door and rushed out into the pouring rain. The rain sounds echoed everywhere, cold and wet. I ran to the car, but when I opened the door, I stopped. In the rearview mirror, I saw Emily already sitting in the back seat, a devilish smile spread across her face. I panicked and backed away, falling to the wet ground. When I looked up, I saw no one in the car. I trembled, not daring to take another step, only knowing to drag myself back to the house, my heart heavy as if it was about to burst. I gradually felt Emily's presence spread everywhere. Even when she was not near, I still felt her deep black eyes following me. When the lights were off, when the night fell, when the wind whistled through the cracks in the door, I saw the image of a woman standing motionless, without a shadow, looking at me in silence. I knew I didn't have much time left. My life was slowly draining away. And then one evening, when I was about to step down the stairs, I heard a soft call from downstairs. The call sounded exactly like my voice, repeating my name over and over in the empty house. I stopped, cold sweat running down my face. I knew that if I stepped down, I would never be the same again. Stay tuned for the next episode to see how I faced that strange call in this haunted house.